Clint Eastwood, the legendary actor and filmmaker, didn't simply rise to stardom, he fought his way there. Beneath his iconic tough guy exterior lies a story of resilience shaped by personal battles. His early years were far from stable, marked by constant relocations and a restless search for direction. Struggling through bouts of anxiety, he faced the terrifying experience of surviving a plane crash and later, the profound sorrow of losing his father. But instead of breaking him, these hardships became the crucible that forged a Hollywood icon. How did Eastwood's tumultuous past fuel his rise to greatness? Stay with us to uncover the lesser-known chapters of his remarkable life. On May 31, 1930, Clint Eastwood made his grand entrance into the world at St. Francis Hospital in San Francisco, weighing an impressive 11 pounds, a surprise to the nurses that earned him the nickname Samson. His parents, Clinton S.R. and Ruth Nee Runner, came from a rich tapestry of English, Scottish, Dutch, German, and Irish ancestry, with even a distant Mayflower passenger in the family tree. Later, Clint's younger sister, Jean Bernhard, would complete the family. The 1930s were a turbulent time for the Eastwoods as Clint's father struggled to find stable work. He tried everything from sales to detective work in San Francisco. The family moved frequently, but by 1940 they settled in Piedmont, California, an affluent community where they enjoyed a comfortable life complete with a swimming pool and country club membership. Despite Clint's occasional references to tough times during the Great Depression, the Eastwoods were doing quite well for themselves. School, however, wasn't Clint's strong suit. Poor grades saw him held back in junior high, requiring summer classes to catch up. His rebellious streak kicked into high gear at Piedmont High School, where antics like writing an obscene message on the scoreboard and setting up a flaming effigy on the school lawn led to his expulsion. Transferred to Oakland Technical High School, Clint had a chance for a fresh start, but he wasn't exactly focused. Though teachers recognized his potential and encouraged him to join school plays, Clint had other interests: fast cars, girls, and honing his skills in tennis and golf. Though Clint Eastwood had the potential to be a solid basketball player, he gravitated toward solo pursuits instead. Tinkering with car engines, delving into aircraft maintenance, and mastering the piano, he became so dedicated to his craft that a friend recalls his fingers literally bleeding from hours of practice. However, his academic future remained uncertain. Graduation, a bit of a mystery. Records are unclear, and even close friends like Fritz M. believe Clint simply dropped out to pursue a more adventurous life. In early 1949, when his father moved to Seattle, Clint stayed behind, crashing at his buddy Harry Pendleton's place in Oakland. Then, fate intervened at a Malibu party where Clint met renowned film director Howard Hawks, a moment that would later become a pivotal turning point. But before the glamour of Hollywood, Clint had to pay his dues. He logged timber in Springfield, Oregon, took on lifeguard duties after earning his Red Cross certification, and even played ragtime piano at a bar in Oakland. Quite the unconventional start for a future icon. Was it sheer talent and fortunate timing that paved his way to stardom, or was destiny at work behind the scenes? Stay tuned, Clint Eastwood's story is about to get even more fascinating. In 1951, the Korean War pulled Clint Eastwood into the U.S. Army, but instead of facing combat, he found himself stationed at Fort Ord, California, as a swimming instructor, a far cry from the front lines. It seemed like a safe assignment, but fate had other plans. On September 30th, 1951, Clint hitched a ride back to base from Seattle. What seemed like a routine flight quickly turned into a disaster. Bad weather hit early, and then things got worse. The plane's back door flew open mid-flight. Clint managed to rig a temporary fix, but the radios and oxygen system failed soon after. As if that wasn't enough, they ran out of fuel, lost in the fog, miles from the California coast. With no options left, the pilot was forced to ditch the plane into the ocean. Sharks lurked in those waters, but Clint and the pilot inflated rafts and began paddling for their lives. The ocean wasn't kind. Waves flipped Clint's raft, leaving him no choice but to swim. Accounts differ, but he swam an exhausting 2 to 4 miles to shore. That swimming instructor training? It became his lifeline. Fighting hallucinations as the bioluminescent waves shimmered around him, Clint pushed on. Somehow, against the odds, he made it to shore, stumbling into an RCA radio station, cold and in shock. He later reunited with the pilot, who incredibly had survived as well. In the end, It wasn't the battlefield that tested Clint Eastwood, it was the Pacific Ocean. His survival was nothing short of a miracle. Years later, Clint Eastwood would star in Escape from Alcatraz, playing Frank Morris, the mastermind behind an audacious prison break, swimming across the icy waters of the San Francisco Bay. Life imitating art, perhaps. Clint's real-life brush with death at sea likely gave him the grit and determination that made his portrayal of Morris so utterly believable. But military life wasn't all survival stories and discipline. To supplement his modest $67 a month pay, Clint picked up a side job at a sugar company. And then there were the perks like the rumored romance with an officer's daughter. Having the right connections never hurt anyone. It was during this time that a visit to Carmel, California, left an impression on him. "Someday, I'd like to live here," he mused, unknowingly foreshadowing his future in the picturesque town. As for his army buddies, Clint wasn't short on good company. He befriended future television stars like Richard Long and Martin Milner, both of whom would go on to carve their own paths in Hollywood. The 1970s and early 1980s saw Eastwood trade his cowboy spurs for a badge, moving from the dusty plains of the Wild West to the gritty streets of San Francisco. This era gave birth to Dirty Harry, the no-nonsense cop who bent the rules to catch his man, cementing Clint's image as the tough guy with a badge. He carried this rogue persona into other films like Thunderbolt and Lightfoot and The Gauntlet, where the line between right and wrong, morality and legality, blurred. Eastwood also showcased his comedic talents in the Every Which Way But Loose films, where his unlikely co-star was Clyde, a scene-stealing orangutan. But after this lighter chapter of his career, he returned to more intense roles, culminating with Escape from Alcatraz. This film proved that Clint's range extended beyond playing heroes. He could embody a desperate convict with equal conviction. However, during the filming of the 1975 thriller The Eiger Sanction, tragedy struck. David Knowles, a skilled mountain climber and stunt double, was called upon for additional shots of a challenging climbing sequence. He and fellow climber Mike Hoover successfully captured the footage, but disaster soon followed. An unexpected rock slide sent a massive boulder tumbling towards the men as they stood on a precarious ledge. Mike Hoover survived with a fracture, but tragically, David Knowles lost his life. The chilling part. The fatal accident eerily mirrored a scene the crew had filmed just days before. One of the surviving climbers recalled the moment with disbelief. "We flew back to that same spot, and there it was, the scene we'd been faking for 2 days, but this time it was real." Dave Knowles, hanging dead on the end of the rope. It was unreal. Reality and fiction collided in the most haunting way. The incident devastated Clint Eastwood, who was consumed by grief and guilt, feeling responsible for Knowles' death. He even considered abandoning the film altogether. Yet the crew, fully aware of the risks that come with such dangerous work, encouraged him to push forward. They believed finishing the movie would be the best way to honor Knowles' memory and his commitment to the project. The 1980s and early 1990s marked a significant shift in Clint Eastwood's on-screen persona. His characters weren't just tough anymore, they were layered with complexity, burdened by guilt and inner conflict. In Firefox, he portrayed a pilot haunted by PTSD, while in Tightrope, he played a cop deeply tormented by the twisted killer he was hunting. These roles showcased a man grappling not just with external threats, but with his own internal demons. This darker tone extended into The Rookie, where his character's obsession with a case put those around him at risk, and White Hunter Black Heart, in which a film director's fixation on hunting an elephant highlighted his deeper struggles with control and morality. The culmination of this era was Unforgiven, a return to his Western roots, but with a profound twist. Eastwood played a former outlaw burdened by his violent past, exploring themes of redemption and the consequences of a life of violence. It was a film that earned him critical acclaim and solidified his reputation as a filmmaker who could both direct and act with extraordinary depth. As Eastwood moved into the 2000s, we saw the emergence of what could be called the grumpy old Clint phase. In Space Cowboys, he played an aging astronaut finally getting his chance to go to space. In Bloodwork, his character, a retired FBI profiler, battles health issues while chasing a killer. But perhaps his most iconic grumpy roles came in Million Dollar Baby, where he portrayed a reluctant, hardened boxing trainer, and Gran Torino, in which he played a bigoted war veteran who, against his will, finds redemption in an unexpected friendship. His most recent film, Cry Macho, continued this trend, casting Eastwood as a weathered horseman on a journey through rural Mexico, tackling themes of aging, regret, and finding purpose in later life. Off-screen, Clint Eastwood's personal life has been equally dramatic. His first marriage to Maggie Johnson in 1953 was an attempt at stability, but the union was plagued by his restlessness and infidelity. His extramarital affairs were no secret, with one resulting in the birth of a daughter, Lori Murray, who was placed for adoption without his knowledge. Later, another affair led to the birth of Kimberly L. Despite Maggie being aware of his infidelities, the couple stayed together for some time, even welcoming their own children, Kyle and Allison. But the facade of domestic harmony couldn't hold, and the strain of Eastwood's affairs eventually took its toll, leading to the breakdown of the marriage. Clint Eastwood's life, both in film and reality, has been marked by the struggle between his public persona as a stoic, unflappable figure and the complex, often flawed man behind that image. Whether on the big screen or in his personal relationships, Eastwood's story is one of conflict, redemption, and resilience. By 1979, Clint Eastwood's personal life became the subject of intense public scrutiny, particularly his relationship with co-star Sandra Locke. The rumors surrounding them eventually led to the dissolution of his marriage to Maggie Johnson. However, the consequences of his romantic choices went beyond tabloid headlines, deeply affecting his family dynamics. Kimber Eastwood, born from his affair with stuntwoman Roxanne Tunis, has spoken candidly about her complex relationship with her father. At times, she has described a strong bond with Eastwood, but on other occasions, she has expressed feelings of neglect, revealing that she once begged him for a closer connection. This fractured father-daughter relationship stands in stark contrast to the public image of Eastwood as a strong, stoic figure. The story of Lori Murray adds another intricate layer to Eastwood's personal history. Adopted as a baby, Lori discovered her biological father only in the 1990s, after hiring a private investigator to uncover the truth. While Eastwood welcomed Lori when she reached out to him, questions remain about whether he had been actively searching for her or if he had simply never known of her existence before her revelation. Eastwood's affair with Roxanne Tunis began on the set of Rawhide in the 1950s and lasted for 14 years, during which they had a daughter, Kimber. Eastwood initially denied being Kimber's father, claiming that he was unaware of the child's paternity at the time. This secrecy about his children, which would become a recurring theme in his life, continued to shape his relationships and public image. The 1970s saw Eastwood's relationship with Sandra Locke evolve from on-set chemistry to a full-blown romance, despite his marriage to Maggie Johnson. Their passionate but tumultuous relationship became the subject of intense media scrutiny, particularly after Locke accused Eastwood of pressuring her into unwanted abortions and a tubal ligation. This toxic dynamic lasted for a decade, eventually culminating in bitter lawsuits filed by Locke, alleging fraud and broken promises on Eastwood's part. While still involved with Locke, Eastwood began a fling with flight attendant Jacelyn Reeves, which resulted in the birth of 2 children, Scott and Catherine. Around the same time, he crossed paths with actress Frances Fisher, and their relationship blossomed into what Fisher described as love at first sight, despite Locke's continued presence in Eastwood's life. Eastwood's personal relationships were characterized by secrecy, betrayal, and shifting allegiances, often leaving a trail of complex emotions in their wake. His legacy, both on and off the screen, is marked by the contradictions of a man who found great success in his career, but struggled to maintain stability in his personal life. Clint Eastwood's personal life continued to evolve in complex ways over the years, with a mix of passionate romances, tumultuous separations, and a steady pursuit of privacy. After his relationship with Frances Fisher, Eastwood found love again in 1992 with news anchor Dina Ruiz. Their whirlwind romance culminated in a 1996 marriage, followed by the birth of daughter Morgan. On the surface, this seemed like a calmer, more settled period for Eastwood. However, his private nature often clashed with Dina's public persona, particularly after the couple starred in a reality TV show together. Tensions grew, and rumors of infidelity, partly fueled by Eastwood's previous affairs and his secret children with Jacelyn Reeves, seeped into the media. Eventually, the relationship crumbled, leading to a final separation. In 2013, Eastwood began dating his ex-wife, Erica Tomlinson Fisher, though this relationship too came to an end. As one chapter closed, a new one opened in 2015 when he met Christina Sendera, a hostess with whom he has since maintained a relatively private and stable relationship. Despite the complicated history with his past partners, Eastwood and Sendera have been spotted at various events, even alongside his exes and children, showcasing a maturity and amicability in his later years. As Eastwood entered his 90s, speculation surrounding his health became a topic of concern. After being absent from public events for over 450 days, fans and family grew increasingly worried, especially when he missed the 2023 at Pro-Am golf tournament, where his son Scott was competing. However, Clint quelled these concerns in a rare public appearance in 2024 at a conservation event hosted by Jane Goodall in his hometown of Carmel by the Sea. Looking healthy, with longer hair, a full beard, and a casual yet stylish outfit, Eastwood seemed in high spirits and fully engaged with his passions. The legendary actor and director continues to stay active behind the scenes, working on projects like the courtroom drama Juror No. 2, which he directed and produced. His commitment to a low-fat, high-protein diet, likely inspired by his father, who passed away from cardiovascular disease, keeps him in good health, and his son Scott Eastwood credits Clint as a major fitness inspiration. Scott revealed that his father taught him how to lift weights as a teen, instilling in him a disciplined approach to diet and exercise. Clint Eastwood's ability to stay vibrant, both personally and professionally, demonstrates that age is no barrier to a life fully lived. Whether he's acting, directing, or spending time with family and fellow conservationists, Clint remains a force to be reckoned with. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more updates.